with their nails done now.
After that we see one of the outposts on Skull Island where the small Mechagodzilla was stolen from. We see detectives and police there, then we Osprey landing there and we see Dr. Houston Brooks and new member of Monarch, Mr. George Potts. They get in the base where all searching stuff is going on. Then George said, "Already a few months passed and they still didn't finish this job?" Then Brooks told him, "Calm down. Those people who died there had families. And they really wouldn't like to hear that." Then George got quiet and then Brooks went inside base. Then George decided to follow him inside the base but he felt that something really heavy was coming from behind. He looked behind and we saw Kong which was staring at the base. George got excited. He immediately took his phone out and took picture of Kong. Then Kong started walking towards the base and he looked inside the opened hole on the top of small Mechagodzilla's base. But then he just walked next to it and he went to sleep on Skull Island. After that we see underground base of the Rollo which is preparing some underground and underwater tank. Then we see soldiers of the Rollo. They mostly looked like troops of Black Hand from Just Cause 4, and there were 8 troops and 9th was Bill himself which was following them. He got dressed in black soldier suits and he got inside the tank and they launched the tank on the ground. After riding for nearly 20 minutes, the tank swam into the ocean and it got submerged. Then we see George which is walking on the outpost of Skull Island where 2 small Mechagodzilla was lost, but instead of another mech, there was some Hollow Earth vehicle which was called the Hev. Then George got closer to vehicle and he said, "Wow. That's nice." Monarch was sending 20 troops to the Hollow Earth to have found out where the signal was coming from. Then George looked at troops and they weren't wearing any big armor. Then George said, "Wait. They aren't gonna wear any armor?" Then Dr. Brooks asked him, "Why do they need it?" George said, "For Evregus." But then Brooks told him that nothing was going to happen to them. But then George said, "Okay, it's on you," with little angry face, and he went out from the outpost. Only about 10 seconds later Monarch started taking Hev in the air with Ospreys where they attached the Hev and they pulled it in the air. They took it to the ocean and they soon dropped the Hev in the ocean. Then troops which were inside said, "Okay. Let's go." And they went into giant underwater tunnel. They swam and they soon found air pocket and they got into giant underground tunnel. Then they started getting out from the Hev and continued walking with feet. Then we see Monarch space where they are spectating troops on monitors. Then Brooks tells them with Maki-Taki, "Okay. Let's get deeper now." And they continue walking in the tunnel. After walking for 15 minutes, one of the soldiers said that he was bored. And he decided to have a little drink. Then everyone agreed with him and only Boss was standing. Then Boss told them, "Come on you lazy dogs. We have a job here." Then one of the troops said that resting is always necessary. Then Boss was about to say something when something exploded behind him. We soon saw underground tank of the Rollo which came up from the ground. And it started shooting mounted guns at soldiers. Then we see Monarch base where they see that soldiers are dying and everyone is so nervous. Then we see Bill Chapman's army which coming out from a tank. We soon get to see Bill with his uniform which is taking out his katana. Then we see Boss of Monarch which is standing up and he is pulling his hands up. Then Monarch Boss asks them, "Who are you? What do you want?" Then it was silence for 5 seconds and then Bill Chapman said, "Chaos." And he cut off Boss's throat with katana. Then other Monarch troops were about to take out their pistols when the Rollo troops killed them. Then Bill sees the giant rock putting the underground, but it more looks like a wall. Then they shoot this wall with tank and wall gets destroyed and we see giant underground village. Then we see so many skull crawlers, around 75, and we see some gate which is leading to dark place. But then we see giant snake which is coming out from there. She was called the Nazuki. Then tank shot at the upside a few times and whole ground from the upper island fell on Nazuki. Then they got into the tank and they left the place. Then we see skull crawlers which are climbing up and they get back to Skull Island. But they are still so small. They are almost like caddies for Kong. Then they get on the ground and they start attacking wildlife. We soon Monarch base which is also being attacked by skull crawlers. We see George and Dr. Brooks which are running towards helicopter. Then we see another fatman which is running towards the helicopter, but he gets caught by tongue of Skullcrawler and he gets eaten. Then we see another woman which is falling on the ground. Then she is about to stand up when she gets eaten by Skullcrawler. Then George and Houston finally get in a helicopter and they are lifting off. Then we see Skullcrawlers which are running on Skull Island, but then Kong steps on few of them and he is roaring. Then Skullcrawlers try to attack but they are too small. Then we see Nazuki which is rising from the hole. And Kong roars at her.